Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Manupeta Apeta Krityam Rapaino Vidha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Maitaya Taravo Benedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jaya Mundirayat Avancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So we begin always offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta, Om Vishnu Parasto Talsat Sri Srimad Abhayacharya Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Talsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosvami Maharaj and our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga. So things are a little compressed. This will be a short reading. We're on verse 3 now, beginning. Iti driksvalila virananda kunde swagoshamni majantam makyapayantam tariyeshita geshu bhakta chitatvam puna premastastam shataviti vandari. By his childhood pastimes, such as this Dham Bandhana Leela, he perpetually drowns all the residents of Gokul. His gopis, cows, calves, and so forth, who are all manifested by his pastime potency, he drowns them in pools of bliss. He thus informs those who have knowledge of his absolute divinity that only the pure and simple love of these devotees can conquer him. Again, hundreds of times I offer loving obeisance unto Sri Damodar Krishna. Now we move to the commentary of Sri Sanatana Gosvami. So, Sri Satyavat Muni begins this verse with Itridrik Svalilabi, to establish his worshipful Lord's unique glory. Okay, something special. Each verse has something special. So, he accomplishes this by illustrating his wonderful character. In this verse, iti is used to mean like this. Thus he begins, like this, by his bhakta vashyata, same as bhakta vatsalya, his affection for devotees, and thus reiterates that it is Sri Krishna's nature to come under the control of his devotees. Alternatively, iti means by this Damodar Leela, and Idrishibis Cha adds that, quote, by his supremely enchanting, extraordinary childhood pastimes, like Damodar Leela, he is immersing all the residents of Gokul in great bliss, end quote. The addition of sva in the phrase sva lilabi relates the greatness of his own pastimes. Sva means one's own, right? Or it relates the uncommon excellence of the playfulness of his pastimes. In either case, his pastimes, his playfulness. This has been described in the 10th canto, 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 7, in statements such as the following. Gopibi stobito nurityad bhagavan balavat kvachit udgayati kvachin mugdhas tadvasho daruyantravat. The gopis would encourage Krishna to dance in various ways. They would clap their hands or say, if you dance, then we will give you a laddu. Although Krishna is Bhagavan, the supreme omnipotent Godhead, and the master of all opulences, baby Krishna would dance for them, like an innocent human child. Sometimes they would make him sing, and like a bewildered ordinary child, he would do so. Thus, becoming enchanted by them, he became like a wooden puppet in their hands. So what is it that enchants him and bewilders him? It's by their love that he is able also to surrender himself. As they're surrendered to him in a very special mood, because of the mood of their love, he can enter into that as well. Remember, we always repeat this line from the Gopal Champu when Krishna was giving the final order and treaty to the gopis to come out of the water and reclaim their garments. He said, and telling them, they were naked and raised their hands above their heads in prayer, completely vulnerable, totally vulnerable and exposed. And he said, do this, I want to become submissive to you. When the devotee shows this kind of love, Krishna becomes enraptured and captured by it and enters into that relationship that the devotee desires. So they have so much love. Please dance, little boy, right? I'll give you a ladu. He cannot help it. He becomes like a puppet to their love. Not an unwilling puppet, a happy puppet. Now it also quotes the next verse in that same chapter of the Bhagavatam. Sometimes the gopis would order Sri Krishna to bring them someone's shoes, wooden seats, measuring cups, or the weights used for scales. At such times, he would act as if he was unable to lift these articles and would simply stand there touching them. And then he would repeatedly strike his arms to show his mightiness. By such gestures, he would fill his own kin with boundless joy. Right, because everybody becomes charmed by the actions of a small child, trying to act as if they're grown up, strong, smart, intelligent, right? So disarmingly charming. And who could be more disarmingly charming than Sri Krishna himself? It was in sole reference to the above statements of Srimad Bhagavatam that Sri Satyavat Muni said, Sri Krishna causes Swagosham, his own kin, in other words, the residents of Gokul, all his kin, right, to be totally submerged, Nimajantam, in a nectarian and incredibly deep pool of extraordinary happiness, Ananda Kunda. That is the indication of this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Svanam Pritim Samudvahan. He thoroughly arouses deep love in his own dear kin. How are they kin? Not necessarily by direct relationship in the Narvat sense, but they're his kin because they're his eternal devotees, and they have that relationship. They have that motherly love and fatherly love, right? Greater than anyone in this world, right? And friends, like brothers, the gopis, like dear beloveds, right? Definitely all kin. Even the cows think of Krishna in a motherly way, and the calves like friendship. Alternatively, the word Gosha means loudly proclaiming the glory of something. Directing the word Gosha either to himself, Svasya, or to his own, Svanam, the meaning becomes either, quote, by broadcasting his own glories, end quote, or, quote, by broadcasting the glories of his gopas and gopis. So he's happy. Actually, Krishna's more happy to broadcast the glories of his devotees. Certainly by becoming absorbed in the mood of spreading his extraordinary glories, as well as the glories of his own loved ones, even Sri Krishna sinks in Ananda Kunda. And as a result, he feels the highest limit of happiness. Sri Satyavat Muni, in order to further describe the extraordinary qualities of Bhagavan, then says, quote, by these pastimes, Sri Krishna is making it known, Akyapayantam, to all who are Tadiya Ishita Gyeshu. Tadiya Ishita Gyeshu refers to those among his worshippers, those who are close to him, the Tadiya, who know, Geshu, about his absolute supremacy, Ishita, right? Sanskrit, amazing language. Tadiya, his own, very dear. Ishita, right? His being the worshipable object, right? His supremacy. And Geshu, those who know. Those who worship him as the supreme controller and the master of all souls, they know him as that, but he himself is controlled and defeated by the love of his pure devotees. Bhaktaya Jitatvam. In other words, Krishna is declaring, I willingly become controlled by my bhaktas alone, who are intent on serving me with pure devotion. I am never controlled by those who are inclined to worship me while considering my supreme position and opulence. Thus, the sage captures the meaning of the following statement. This is the next verse. This is all based on these verses from the 11th chapter of the 10th canto, starting with 7, 8, now 9. Dashayangs tadvidam loka atmano buritya vashyatam. Bhagavan Sri Krishna showed the community of those who know about his supreme position that he only remains under the full control of his loving servants. So Shukadeva Goswami is explaining these pastimes. This is very important. At this part of the Bhagavatam, we are still being informed, in fact always, of the underlying philosophical tattva of Krishna, but woven into that is the beauty of these special pastimes in Braj, but we need to know the tattva also. You can't enter into these pastimes without first knowing the tattva, because otherwise you're going to mistake it to be ordinary, mundane. And just like in the 10 offenses, to consider the chanting of the holy name to be like karma kanda or something material. To neglect Guru, consider Guru an ordinary person, right? Without this foundation of tattva, we can't really have the strength and wherewithal to remove the anarthas that prevent us from really entering into these leelas. The anarthas are what keep us attracted to the material, right, to the material side. And it's only when we become fully convinced of this Sambandha Tattva that when we hear these pastimes and the sweetness of them, we can hear them unimpeded by mundane conception and separate interest, right? Anyabhilash, jnana karma jnanavartam, right? And knowing what the favorable mood is of real devotees, anyabhilashita. Now, I'm sorry, anukulyena krishnanushilanam, right? So, the commentator, Sri Sanatana Goswami, personally interprets the above statement of Bhagavatam as follows. Here the word tad, about that or about him, is connected to Sri Krishna's position as Bhagavan. And when it is combined with vidam, knowledge of, it becomes knowledge of his position as Bhagavan. Thus, the meaning is clear. He is showing darshams, those who know about his supreme opulence, that he willingly comes under the control of his loving servants. So, again, this is a 10th canto is an appeal to those who may know something about the nature of God and respect and honor him appropriately. Oh, but there's something more. Something more. If you want the highest experience of love, then look at my relationship with my devotees, Krishna is saying. Right? So, in other words, the original Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna Chandra, is exhibiting that in every respect he is only controlled by his loving servants in Braj. And among them, he is especially controlled by those in Unnata Ujvala Ras, the supremely pure humor of Madhurya Ras, conjugal love. He is not controlled by devotees who worship him on the path of Aishvarya Bhakti, which is characterized by the mood of reverence, nor is he controlled by jnanis who know him to be self-sufficient, to be the self-sufficient, supremely powerful Lord, or by those whose bhakti is mixed with such jnana. Because the same intimacy and service can never be aroused when that Aishvarya is prominent in one's understanding of the Lord. Right? Well, he's God. What do I need to give him anything for? He's self-sufficient. He creates all the water in the world. I don't even have to bring him a glass of water. He's Atmaram, Aptakam. But there is another meaning of Tadiyeshita Geshu Bhaktarjitatvam. Sri Krishna only reveals Akyapyantam, that he is willingly controlled, jitatvam, by his loving devotees, only to those who have proper knowledge of such beloved devotees' exalted position. Right. So not only knowing about the Lord, but also honoring his great intimate confidential associates, right? And by that honor, is awakening the desire to be among them and to serve them, right? To enter and to be accepted in their mood of service. This is because bhakti, and especially its glories, are very confidential. So he does not reveal it to everyone. It is appropriate to explain it to anyone who is not specifically, it is inappropriate, these glasses are not helping me. It is inappropriate to explain it to anyone who is not specifically acquainted with the exalted glories of the Vaishnavas and who is only interested in impersonal knowledge. From this perspective, the previously cited verse should be interpreted by connecting vidam with bhritya vashyata. Thus, the general meaning of tadvidam, those who know of Krishna's supreme position, becomes bhritya vashyata vidam. Those who know that Sri Krishna willingly comes under the control of his loving servants. Therefore, Sri Satyavat Muni prays. So, Satyavat Muni is revealing in the prayer that this is necessary knowledge. But it's not easy to acquire. Just hearing it out of the blue doesn't mean that you understand it or come to appreciate this knowledge. It's very difficult to reconcile the very human-like nature of these pastimes and the fact that they're completely transcendental. You have to be immersed in the broader tattva to reconcile these ideas. So Satyavat Muni therefore prays, overwhelmed with premata, incomparable pure loving devotion for you, I offer you vandana, my prayers of adoration, hundreds of times, shata avriti. To you, Tam, the Supreme Lord, I offer vandana again and again. Okay, so he's recognizing the Bhagavata of the Lord, but he's also recognizing the exalted glory of the Lord's devotees and their intimacy and lack of knowledge of his Bhagavata. So where does that bring us? Thus, in this verse, the sage wishes to say, among the limbs of bhakti which are required for all devotees, I only pray to perform one special limb of bhakti, vandana, or expressing my adoration for Sri Bhagavan. I do not pray for knowledge of Sri Bhagavan's opulence or anything else. So yes, I'm offering prayers, that's one of the limbs of bhakti, but to that Krishna who drowns in pools of happiness with his beloved devotees who control him by their love. I understand that. That's who I am respecting and offer prayers to. And that ends the English rendition of Sanatana Goswami's Dig Darshani Tika on the third verse. And then tomorrow we can do the Dig Darshani Vriti, the further commentary of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, to explain this more to us. Okay, so all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol.